Hi everyone, thank you for watching this video. It is an ongoing exploration, a bit of a brainstorming video to begin to capture what we mean when we talk about emotional connection. Whether or not we're asking a partner, say, please connect with me more. I need emotional connection. I want emotional connection. Or noticing, saying there's something lacking. Can you connect more? Or if you're on the receiving end, someone shares this with you, a partner asks this of you. And to hear that, oftentimes we don't know what we're talking about. So this is exploring, what is the art of relating? And what do we mean by emotional connection? I want to share an idea that speaks to how we know that something is off and not working when we're talking about emotional connection. And it very much has to do with, there is a video, an experiment, but there's a video about this experiment that is really valuable. And it is called the still face experiment. And perhaps many of you have seen it, but I want to apply what is going on there to our adult relationships and use that as an example for how we know something is off, something's not working, something's not connecting when we are attempting to get our emotional needs met or to facilitate emotional connection, and then something's off, it's not working. So this particular experiment, and then the video that relates to it, there's other videos too, but there's one in particular where it's with Ed Tronick, who and his name sounds so techno, but anyway, Ed Tronick and Sue Johnson, both researchers, and talking about this interaction between a parent and a child, and how we are hardwired in our nervous system to very quickly feel a sense of distress when the person we're connected to is not available. So perhaps you've seen this video, so bear with me if you have, because I want to acknowledge the context of what's actually happening in the video, and then apply that to our adult relationships and why many of us experience chronic distress when it has to do with interpersonal relating. So the experiment is very, very simple. There is a mom and a child who's an infant, age 1, age 1.5, age 2, and mom and child are interacting, and mom's facial expressions are engaged, and she's laughing, baby's laughing. The baby will coo, make a noise, say something in gibberish, and mom responds. So we're already seeing the interaction and the engagement of the attachment system is this back and forth quality where baby will make a noise, like, ah, and then mom mirrors it back and matches. So there's going to be, mom is oftentimes echoing. We are matching the same tone, the same rhythm, the same even intention that's coming with the child's form of verbal communication that is not in the form of language, but just in making noises. So if the child sounds scared in the noise that the child blurts out, mom responds in the same way. We match it and go, what's going on? The quality of mom's response is going to be congruent with the tone, rhythm, quality of what the baby said. And this is just going on, you know, very back and forth, back and forth. Baby makes a noise and laughs, mom laughs with, and it's this echoing back and forth. And if baby smiles, mom smiles, and there's a mirroring. And then sometimes mom initiates. You see, both people are initiating. And then mom starts with the smile, hi, hi. And then the child smiles, and then mom even acknowledges that. Like there's a constant completion. Then the baby smiles, and then mom goes, oh, hi, hi again, I see you. Oh, yes. And there's this, even whether or not mom literally says the word yes, this whole thing is about saying yes to interact. You know, yes, I hear you. Yes, I see you. Yes, I'm going to laugh with you. Yes, if you point, I will look to where you point. If you look down and look away, I'm gonna do research. I'm gonna inquire, like, honey, what's going on? Yeah, you're looking down. And it is this constant back and forth of responding. Now, stay with me here. I know I might be, I really, as you could tell, or perhaps you already know, I really love this, going into the details, because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end when there's a breakdown and this is not happening. And that's what we're going to talk. That's what this video is about. Meaning the video, the Edtronic video, the still face experiment. And then we're going to translate. I'm just letting you know, to repeat. I'm giving you the setup of this thing that happens in our nervous system and in our attachment system, and that we respond. We're hardwired to respond when the interaction just described is not happening. And I want to then use that piece of information, very much create a parallel and compare. Well, we need to realize that's what's going on in our adult relationships and why we have so much attachment distress. So bear with me before we take the leap and we create the parallel of how this impacts our adult relationships. So in the video, the still face, this is still part of the setup. The mom, I just described this interaction that takes place. Mom is instructed through the experiment to not respond. Mom is going to have that's the name, still face. Mom's face is going to stay still. She's not going to smile. She's not going to raise her eyebrows. When the child makes noises and speaks and points and creates engagement of any kind, mom is just going to sit there and be, sort of be like a robot, be like a statue. And mom is not going to respond. What this video shows, and they only do this for a minute and a half, I don't know the exact time, 2 minutes, if that. It becomes very, very distressing for the child. So I do want to point out that I think there is a sensitivity, that they're not torturing the child. The mom's not ignoring the child for an hour and a half. But we can also think of many of us, have come from or endured or grew up in families, or when we were children, or we know of people who, as children, they are ignored for an hour and a half. And if you watch this video and see what it does to this baby, this young, very young child, what it does at 2 minutes, we know what happens then when the child experiences this as a chronic, ongoing form of being non-engaged for an hour and a half, or 3 hours, or 3 days, or 18 years of your life, whatever it is. So in the video, the still face, the mom is non-responsive. And what we see happen, and the ongoing conclusion of the data that comes out of this experiment, is that something kicks in very quickly, that the nervous system activates, that says something is wrong, something is wrong. We're not attached. Our attachment is being compromised. Mom is not with me. Mom has checked out. Mom's face is non-responsive. Mom is not participating in the back and forth engagement of invitation, response, reaching back, invite again, back and forth. And the child's brain, this is just in a young infant, the child's brain picks up on this, and it releases hormones in the body which create distress, and the whatever brain functioning that's happening, it sounds an alarm of concern. And this is what the most extreme form of this when it comes to relationships, we call this primal panic. The primal panic is, oh shit, mom has disappeared. Mom is not here. Oh no, this is oh no, this is really, this is serious stuff, because I depend on mom keep continually mirroring back that we are here for each other. We are safe with each other. We have each other. I know you, you know me. Let's stay engaged, because life is challenging and painful and scary, and there's a lot of the unknown. And we're dependent on each other, especially in this scenario of child and parent. You know, obviously the child's very, very dependent. But as we're moving, you can see where I'm moving with this to think about adult to adult relating. We're dependent on each other to help us feel tethered to the experience of life where there's so much groundlessness and fear and uncertainty. And if we are connected to a network through relationship with our people, with our family, with our loved ones, that helps us feel like we belong, and it does give us some sense of tether in the groundlessness. So here you have this video, and Ed Tronick, the video I'm referring to, there's other experiments like this, but in this video, he's narrating some of the very key components of very quickly how the child starts to go inward and to formulate, hey, well, what if I keep amping up my protest behaviors or create much bigger forms of trying to get mom's attention? So the child at first repeats what was done before, like, hey, well, we used to play this game, this laughing, pointing game. Why don't we play that game? And then mom doesn't respond. And then the child, you can see the child's like, oh no, that one didn't work. And then the child's like, well, what if I just scream? What if I just make a loud noise? Because mom usually responds. So I'm going to scream. And then still face, no response. And then you see the child, like, there's more concern and panic sets in. And then the child, you know, arches its back and is visibly uncomfortable. It's painful that mom is not here. It is scary, it is painful, and it releases hormones into the nervous system, into the bloodstream, and is impacting our brain, our ability to that we register this as an emergency. It is a big deal if mom is not here. From an evolutionary standpoint, from the point of view of evolution, of being survival, we need to very much be alert and constantly checking in with each other, the people we love, the people we're connected to. Are you here? I'm here. Are you here? I'm here. Are you here for me? I'm here for you. Hey, I see you. Do you see me? I see you. Do you see? Hey, can we trust each other? I trust you. Are we safe? Hey, we're safe. Are we good? We're good. I care about you. I care about you too. Do you care about me? I care about you. Do you see? This is relationship. And this is going on non-verbally, this is going on verbally, this is going through, you know, going on through behavior, through glances, through interaction. You can be sitting on opposite sides of the room, but still extremely engaged in feeling connected and attached to each other. You can also be sitting right next to each other and feel completely disconnected and like the person has completely abandoned you, and or you also have chosen to disconnect and abandon the other person. So this is what happens in this video. Very, very important experiment to hone in on the fragility, the sensitivity, the very minute, we're talking within 20 seconds of mom creating a still face, all of a sudden the baby is having a response and a reaction. I want to acknowledge that I have done this before with my dog, and I haven't done it as like, oh, I want to do a still face experiment. She and I are just playing. This has been going on, you know, I've done this for years. I don't do it a lot, but I'm just saying I'm aware that the dog's nervous system and brain, and how the dog has a limbic brain to create emotional connection with me, and how we are bonded. The same thing happens with my dog that I stumbled upon, you know, years ago. We're playing together. If I just freeze, and I'm frozen, and I don't throw the toy, and I don't directly look at her, and I just sort of freeze like I'm a statue, within 5 seconds, she growls at me, and not through aggression, but she'll bark at me. And the tone of the bark is different from other kinds of bark. And I'm reading into it right now, but I feel pretty confident in saying that, you know, if we can bring language to what's happening when she's barking, she's like, hey, what's going on? Something's going on. Like, this is weird. This is different. Hey, wait a minute. There's an immediate, she's immediately knows that I have disconnected, and that there is some threat or some concern that activates within her to say, where did you go? You disappeared. Where did you go? This literally happens with my dog in 5 seconds. Okay? So let's use the still face experiment with a mom and a baby. Let's use that 5-second example with my dog. And as much as I adore my dog so much, and I think she's so incredibly, you know, but I am emphasizing this idea that this is my relationship with my pet. Can you imagine how incredibly sensitive and fine-tuned our nervous systems are, our emotional attachment system, our radar to pick up emotional interaction? And this, of course, many people who identify themselves as empaths, having some heightened empathy, you know, heightened experience to really monitor emotional track the quality of emotional connection, and to be very sensitive to the shifts and the changes of the frequency of coming together, pulling apart, coming together, pulling apart. So let's translate all of this into, let's translate all of this into and look at when you're in a relationship with a partner, romantic relationship, life partner, and someone, you, the other person, I don't know who, is not responding emotionally. So this is the part that gets a little complicated and blurry. What I mean by this is that two people, if we're watching a video, it might appear that they are in the same proximity. It might appear that they look pleasant. It might appear they're sitting together and there is some certain amount of being together. However, emotionally, there is a still face. So again, I got to repeat this part because this is so confusing. It doesn't mean literally that your partner has a stone face, a still face, a disconnected face. It doesn't mean that the partner is sitting there with arms crossed, you know, only looking at a phone, never looking at you, and just having the, you know, complete disconnect. That is a bit more easy, or that's easier to diagnose or to identify. You can just say like, wow, this person is totally checked out and is ignoring, you know, not interacting. And that is equally painful and frustrating. And, you know, hello, we've been sitting in the same room together for the last 45 minutes, and I don't even think that you knew I was even here. So yes, that is going to provoke your nervous system, your attachment system. That is going to very much create attachment distress, unless, here's the other added bonus, and I say that sarcastically, unless you have been trained in your family to be ignored and you have the tolerance to put up with non-interaction. And some of us then, we say, oh, I'm fine. I can, this is relationship. This is what you do. You sit in a room and you don't engage, you don't talk, you don't acknowledge each other for 45 minutes. And that's normal. And any type of attachment distress, our nervous system and body is so offline. So I use the word inverted. It's this, like we are so, our wires are so crossed, our brain mapping, the neural pathways are just so, we are so used to overriding the attachment distress that in fact we consider attachment distress to be the norm, and we have been sensitized to tolerating non-interaction. And this is what we mean by, we say, well, we've been sensitized to tolerate accepting crumbs of emotional relating, little emotional relating. So let's go back to the example. So trying to make the distinction, really want to point out the subtleties of non-emotional engagement. Even though at face value we might have a certain base level of interaction. So we have proximity, we have some talking, we have some eye contact, but imagine emotionally, and this is the third time I'm saying it, it gets a little blurry and fuzzy to make this distinction, but you know how mom had a still face? So we're not saying that the partner, the romantic partner, the spouse, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it is, we're not saying that they're totally, checked out, even though I just went off on a tangent and gave an example of that too. We have a built-in tolerance for that, some of us, if you grew up in a family where you were somehow ignored this way. But we could also have a tolerance, and our very sensitive nervous system, our attachment system, will pick up when the person's emotional face, and I sort of mean face in a metaphor here, but I'm trying to be consistent with the language. If it's not a literal still face, it could be an emotionally still face. And let me play with language then and take the word face out of it. It could be an emotionally guarded presentation, emotionally disconnected presentation, emotionally checked out. And what can get very confusing is, let's say the partner is genuinely a nice person. Let's say the partner is genuinely has a bit of the ability to chit chat and gab and just talk and be a pleasant person and it's like, well, we are talking, we are interacting. But imagine, and you probably don't have to imagine because you've lived it, you're living it. Your nervous system, go back to my dog, in 5 seconds can pick up that something is not coming through and there is a frozen aspect of engaging. And back to the video with the baby, mom's still face, the interaction, the connection gets frozen. So sometimes some of us, some of our partners might be in the same room, connected to us, but emotionally, they are frozen. Emotionally, we are frozen. We are not going to give let me use an example for myself outside of the context of a partner. I know what it's like to be emotionally guarded in a room full of people I do not want to interact with, or it's easier to use the example of strangers. I can go to a networking function. I can go to a cocktail party. I can go to some interaction with, here's a group of people. It could be somewhat intimate. It's only 3 or 4 people. It could be a larger group. It could be 25 people. I know how to smile, shake hands, say hello, be pleasant, share, participate in conversation. But emotionally, I'm not giving that much. I have decided maybe I'm feeling fearful of revealing myself. Maybe I'm feeling like these are not my people. I don't want, I'm not returning. I don't want to connect with these people here. So it can be very sophisticated, what appears to be a kind of pseudo-relating, a pseudo-openness, but emotionally, I'm not really revealing myself. I'm not really vulnerable. I have an emotionally still face. But my literal face could be smiling, and I could be, like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And, I'm able to have social skills to engage, but I'm not actually revealing myself emotionally. Now, that is a somewhat of a good example, because those type of environments where we don't really know anybody anyway, or we only know each other as acquaintances, it makes it very easy to hide. It makes it, and it's even socially acceptable. We're the fact I just said that story, we're not surprised, and we know people do this, and this is how we manage how much we're exposed. This is how we manage and maneuver whether or not we do want to connect with people or not. However, there is an assumption, or the stakes are just raised much higher, or there is that when we are in intimate relationship, partner relationship with another person, that when emotional connection is denied and shut down, and there is not an engagement. Here's all of this setup was for this. Our nervous system and our attachment system, our brain, will respond with the same level of distress and concern as if the person literally is just have a still face and is sitting there and not engaging. So do you see, you probably feel this, this, in our bodies, that creates this incredible, confusing disconnect, this dissonance, this crazy making, confused experience of the person is physically here. They have some availability by right of just engaging on a surface level, but I am also picking up in my attachment system, my radar, my nervous system. I'm also aware that this person is emotionally shut down or closed off or denying interaction. And so remember the mom and the child, very literal, the baby would make a noise, and then mom would respond, oh yes, and then the baby laughs, and then mom laughs back, So let's just track that. Let's just track that same thing, but we're not talking about literal conversation or concrete conversation. We're talking about emotional cues. So we're not looking at what one partner said to the other. Let's say one partner smiles. There's just this moment, a partner comes home, and there is the one partner was already home. Partner number 2 comes through the door, and partner number 1 smiled. That's the invitation. And let's say partner number 1 is either clueless or just totally ignores it, either intentionally to be a jerk, or just doesn't register. And partner number 2 doesn't really acknowledge the smile by smiling back, but has sort of a neutral facial expression, continues to look at the mail, continues to move the newspaper onto the ottoman, continues to, put the groceries on the counter, move around the space. But the person number one, partner number one, the same way my dog in 5 seconds will bark and say, something's going on here. The same way in the still face experiment with the baby, that the baby will respond within, 5-10 seconds, like, something's going on. Our internalized emotional system, our alarm system, our radar, our distress, we will have a reaction and a response to say, oh, emotionally, this person did not see my invitation to have a connection of warmth and greeting through this very subtle smile. As subtle as it is with my dog, I just, don't move my body at all. And all of a sudden, it's very subtle. The dog picks it up right away. So think about how we have trained our nervous system. For some of us, we have blown out our sensitivity to really be able to respond and track this, because it has been so repeatedly ignored and ignored and ignored and ignored and ignored and ignored, and to the point where that we have had to override, we have had to deny that this is of concern, and that we ignore the physiological response in our nervous system. We ignore the body sensation. We ignore the distress and the concern because we are so used to, in the example I gave, not being smiled to. You use any example, but that's just, to stay consistent with the example that I gave. And think about what this does to a person's nervous system and how it trains us to incredibly dumb down and deny our own awareness. And the whole point of this video is to say, even if you have somehow managed to disconnect all of these body cues or awareness of the distress in your nervous system, I'm proposing that it is still there, and that when situations get all the more stressful, heightened, intense, where we can't ignore it anymore, we then really very much notice what happened, the same way in the video of the still face with the baby who starts pointing and says, try this, try this, try this. That's what happens in our protest behavior. We all of a sudden don't let the moment pass let the moment pass for the partner not to smile at us. We now all of a sudden need to point it out. We all of a sudden need to create, get in the, try harder to say, engage with me. Because if you don't, this is registering in my nervous system and in my brain as a concern. And if it goes on long enough, it moves from concern to emergency. So, final, ending, all of this, think about if you are in relationship with someone who is emotionally unavailable, someone who is emotionally guarded, either out of intention, to be a jerk about it, or just completely clueless, never really had emotional interaction, to even understand what we're talking about. However it comes about, if you are with someone and or you yourself are emotionally frozen and or not offering emotional engagement, it is going to activate and trigger the other person's nervous system. And the degree to which this was a wounding in their past history, or the degree to which this is an unresolved wounding that needs attention, will speak to the degree of how much ongoing distress this is creating. For a person who didn't have, who wasn't ignored emotionally and did not have a history in their family of this scenario, where others were emotionally available. That when this happens as an adult, it's not going to activate and trigger in the sense that there's as much of a great emergency. The person who has never had, or who really didn't have this that much, will be able to adapt and respond and say, well, thanks, but no thanks. This is not the kind of relationship for me because you're not even emotionally here. You know, you keep checking out. But if you have a history where you have been trained to tolerate other people emotionally checking out, it means you're going to put yourself in a situation where your nervous system is going to keep getting provoked. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel this attachment to stress, but you're going to override it by saying that this is just normal. This is what people do. This is what you have to put up with. You've put up with it all these years for now. Why not just keep putting up with it here? And I am pointing out this is how we live in chronic distress around our emotional attachment needs not getting met. So if you want to explain to a partner, what do I mean when I'm talking about connection? What do I mean when I say, let's really pay attention to the minute interactions of how we can pay attention to the invitations to see each other, to know each other, and to respond through mirroring, through attunement, to enter the rhythm, and to be in harmony with each other. That video of the child with the mom, when they're engaging, they are in harmony. They are attuned. Are you here for me? I'm here for you. Are you listening? I'm listening. Are you, do you care about me? I care. Of course I care about you. Do you care about me? Yes, I care about you too. Are you here? I'm here. Are you here? Yeah. Are we laughing? That's funny. That is funny. I enjoy this laughter with you. I enjoy connecting. I enjoy you too. And this is going on, be it verbal, be it nonverbal, be it through behavior, whatever. And when people do not do this as human beings, our nervous system lights up like a Christmas tree, and there is the same way my dog, after 5 seconds, will start barking at me and say, hey, don't check out on me. I need you. If we're going to be in a relationship, you got to stay available and be present. That's what I believe my dog is saying when she barks at me. I hope that this is helpful. I think that this is the most foundational, important thing that we all need to know. And that if we are careless and giving a frozen still face to our partner, we are provoking their nervous system, and we cannot then be surprised why there's tension and struggle and disconnect in our relating, because we keep checking out on each other. And we can't do that. We are hardwired not to do that. I hope that this was helpful. Thank you for watching the video. More videos to come related to this idea of let's really hone in on what is emotional connection, how do we ask for more connection, and how do we define it, and what are the very specific skills we need to create emotional connection. Thank you for watching.